Hi, I'm Stu from Gwinear Angling, and this is the Gwinear guide to method feeder fishing on the pleasure lake. This is our pleasure lake. It was dug around 30 years ago, but the current owners have had it for the last 10. Although it's a pleasure lake, you'll sometimes hear us call it the match lake. Back in the day, it was well renowned as a match venue. The average depth you'll find on the lake is around 4 to 5 foot, but the deepest is about 8 or 9 on the back bank. This is what we regard as the winter area. The rules in our lake are pretty simple. You've got to use our landing nets, no meats, no knots, barbless hooks, and no braided main lines, and the fishing hours are 9 till 5, same as the shop hours. All you need out on the match lake is a really simple method. This is a Drennan 15 gram flat method feeder to a Guru size 14 banded hook length. 6 more pellet on the band, and personally, in my opinion, the best bait from the match lake, softened micro pellets. These are our 2 mil pellets. Generally, with a rule of thumb, per milliliter of the pellet, we soak them for that many minutes. So I've soaked them for 2 minutes in water, drained everything off, and you end up with a nice pliable pellet that you can bind with one hand, but if you rub your hand through it, it all breaks up. You can use a mould. I don't personally. I just whack some on top because we're not casting particularly long range. Give it a nice mould, get your pellet, plop it on top, good to go. As that breaks down on the bottom, the fish comes along, finds your hook bait, job's a good one. Well, that's quite a nice fish. Mirror.
She's pulling, Stu.
She's pulling. I want to bully her. Always take your time. Nothing worse than getting a bite and getting a hook pull. Oh. Not a bad one.
How big are you saying?
£5?
Oh, that's alright.
4 or 5 pound. There she is. Nailed. Look at that. Absolutely nailed. Corner of the lip. Almost need a discorder for that one. Drennan method feeder. Guru banded hook length, 4 inches. Banded pellet. Some micros. All you need. Let's have a look. Typical example of a Gwinear match lake scaly banger. 4 or 5 pound, caught on a method feeder, right in the edge, screaming takes. Expect that all day when you come and fish this lake. Beautiful. Boom. The most common question we get asked in the shop, what species are in the lake? You've got carp, rod, roach, tench, bream, carassios, F1, gudgeon, eels, anything as a pleasure angler you could want to catch is in this lake. You've got carp to 26, but the average is probably 6 to 8 pound, tench to 5, and if you're a specimen perch angler, it's the ultimate lake, there's perch going on 4 pound.
This whole town could be red by the end of the day. If you feel alright, we could throw it and drive. With the radio up so loud they can hear us from now.
So when you're fishing the method, do you throw in some loose feed as well?
Generally throw some 6 mil pellet around them, get some feed in around the area, and hopefully induces a bite. A bit quicker than just chucking a method feeder out there. Generally, we always suggest to people, put your rod at a 90-degree angle or somewhere near that. If you put it straight, you lose your rod, as many anglers have found out. At the same time, having a curve in your rod amplifies showing a bite, so you know when one of these scaly bangers gets it, it's ripping off. As you can see fishing the match lake, they fight hard and they give you some savage takes. One of the main keys here, no matter what you're doing, is to set your drag. I've seen that many rods get dragged in here from just that couple of seconds of go to grab a coffee, rebait, redo another feeder, rod's gone. It's funny at the moment, it's funny at the time, but it's not funny when you don't get your rod back. Properly going for it. Pretty one though. Not one of Gwinear's biggest, but when it comes on loose, I think this is the winner. Oh, look at that one. I had to say so myself. That's a pretty carp. Another prime example of a Gwinear match lake carp. Big and scaly, just how I like them. Now I'm feeding them, throwing those 6mm pellet in, feeder over the top. The action's coming quick and fast, as you can see. Hopefully, we want one another 5-6 pound bigger than this, but you ain't going to get a better looking one. Generally find this lake, casting to the middle doesn't gain you anything. A lot of the fish, the only feature in this lake is the edge and the margins. So a lot of the fish spend most of their time cruising up and down. You see many people cast slap bang to the middle. It's just not needed in my opinion. You catch plenty under your feet and you get some savage bites. Another common question we get asked is, do the fish follow the wind? In the spring, summer and autumn, the wind makes a massive difference on this lake. On a day like today, it's blowing a northerly wind down to this corner. As you can see by our fishing, it's made a massive difference. I'm not saying you won't catch on the back of it. It's perfect for a bit of floater fishing in the slack water, but my preference, always get on the end of that wind.
They proper put a bend in the rod in here, don't they?
They fight hard, that is for sure. This is number 6 or 7. My arm is definitely feeling it. This one does not want to give up. Oh, look at that one. That is the one. Oh, he's a net filler. Biggest fish of the day, probably 10-12 pound. Caught on a method feeder, down the edge. A proven tactic on this lake of catching the better fish. Everyone's obsessed with casting in the middle, but all these fish sit right on the edge, especially the last 2 hours of the day. All those pellets you've misfired fall under the platform, and these fish are around hoovering them up. Proven method, and an absolute scaly banger. Beautiful. Unit. Common carp, quite a rare one in the match lake. They normally get well outnumbered by the mirrors, so it's always a nice surprise when you get one. There is some good ones in here, up to about the 20 pound mark, but most of them seem to average this size mixed in between the F1s. Always a welcome little capture. I have to admit, I'm a bit of a common fan.
Feel a better one?
I don't know, it's hard to tell. The way it ran off, I'm going to say it's a small one, but he's got some weight to him. You can see on the red range.
That rod loves fighting fish like this, doesn't it?
Look at it. It's light enough, you get good fun even out of a 2 pounder. But because of the soft tip on it, you don't bump any fish when you're playing them. Being a short rod, you can get them under your feet so much easier.
It's a definite benefit on this lake, isn't it? Because the fish go under the platform sometimes.
Oh, the buggers. They've been caught that many times, they know they go under a platform. It's the ultimate snag. I feel like a John Wilson right now.
That is a clonker.
All I need is a white cap. It's actually not a bad one.
Nice fish, isn't it?
I hope you've enjoyed this Gwinear guide. If you have, why don't you check out some other videos on our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. See you in a bit. Nailed it.